This is my dl650, and I've ridden this bike all across the United States. I did a trip just 2 years ago in which I did about 15,000 miles. I wanted to tell you, this bike is really excellent and such a good value. Ridden with guys that have BMW GS's, but this I think is a much better bike than a GS. And the reason is, of course, there's the cost. There's also the fact that it's much more reliable than a BMW. And I know that people might say that BMWs are much more reliable and they'll point to a lot of bikes that have over 100,000 miles, but I think this bike is fully capable of 100,000 miles. It's just maybe the people that get BMWs commute more on their bikes, but this thing is super good, super reliable. I've always really liked these bike looks. It just does not look very as good as a BMW. The BMW looks kind of butch, and this one, it's more utilitarian. It's got adjustable preload. I barely use this. I'm not really sure exactly how it even feels, but it's nice to have this dial right here so you can adjust it as you ride. It's just I never had the need for it. So I always plug in my jacket, especially now in DC that it's kind of cold. It's important to have heating. And on my ride cross country I did fall too, and you can find these videos on the channel. I did install these aftermarket lights that my friend Burton gave me. I didn't hook them up very well because they're just low beams, but it's still nice to have and it looks kind of cool. So I bought this arm to install it, or the mount for the lights. But I might get some more powerful lights, especially the LEDs that people have nowadays. They use very little energy and they are very bright. This is a Magstad windscreen, and you can just undo these dials like this and move it around like this. So right now it's set so I don't get as much wind because it's cold. I added a center stand. This is the Happy Trail center stand. It was actually very affordable. Got myself some side cases and the top case. It's I used to ride a lot with book bags, but after a while you realize that riding with a book bag is kind of a hassle. It's one of those things that either you love it or you hate it, but I really like the car tire on this bike. It just makes it much smoother. It lasts so long. This thing is just practically new, and I have 15,000 miles on it. And you see I even have a nail right here, and it's not leaking. Of course, I got the nail as soon as I got the tire, of course, but since it's not leaking, I'm not really going to do anything. It's a really good idea if you commute a lot. Nowadays I don't commute very much, so I probably don't need the car tire, but it is nice to bring your cost per mile down. And when I was riding year-round every day, I was running through rear tires quite a bit, so I'm kind of glad that I don't have to do that anymore. And I keep this bike mostly as a commuter bike because it's so good, so reliable. Everything for it is very inexpensive. And check this out. This is how you open or you remove the rear seat. It's kind of hidden, and I really need to clean my bike, but so let me start it up so you guys can hear it. Stand up and turn. And I haven't started it in a while, but you can hear it run. It's pretty nice. It's a really good sounding bike. I used to have a friend that had one of this a long time ago, and he really swore by it and he rode the hell out of it. It's a really good bike to keep if you don't mind the way it looks. A lot of people love the look, but I have to admit it's not a very good looking bike. It is just a very reliable everyday bike that you can ride year round and just do whatever you want. These bikes can be had for about $3,000, $4,000. It's a really good buy, and I've done a lot of work to it. You know, I did the fork seals, the oil change, new chain, and everything. Let me see how many miles I have. Yeah, 48,600 miles. This bike has got 48,000 miles, and it still rides as if it's new. Out to head on out. And you know, I haven't ridden in quite some time on this bike. Surprisingly, it's not that cold, even though it looks like crap outside. But I'm also geared really well. Really excellent bike. And of course I have very cold tires. And in the winter, I am not into like riding fast at all. I pretty much have this idea, like if in the winter I really want to ride this bike very much like a car.